Social media isn't entertainment. It's a drug. And you're hooked. Don't believe me? Then answer this. When was the last time you went a full day without checking your phone? When was the last time you sat in silence without scrolling, swiping, or refreshing for that tiny hit of stimulation? You think you're in control, but the truth is brutal. You're not holding your phone. Your phone is holding you. And the worst part? You don't even realize you're addicted. Let's make this real. Picture this. You're lying in bed at night. You're exhausted. You know you need to sleep, but you pick up your phone just for 5 minutes. You scroll, you swipe, you click. Suddenly, an hour has passed. Your eyes hurt, your mind is buzzing, and you hate yourself for wasting the time, but you still can't put it down. Or maybe it's first thing in the morning. Before you even brush your teeth, you're reaching for the screen. Notifications, messages, feeds. The world hasn't even touched you yet, and already you've handed over your attention to the algorithm. Sound familiar? Of course it does, because that's the point. Social media was never designed to entertain you. It was designed to addict you. Every feature, every like, every swipe, every red notification bubble is engineered to hijack your brain. The endless feed, that's not an accident. It's the same psychology that powers slot machines in casinos, the maybe next effect. Every scroll is a pull of the lever, every refresh a chance at a dopamine jackpot. The notifications, they're color-coded red for a reason. Red grabs your attention faster than any other color. It triggers urgency, like blood or danger. The likes, they're not about connection. They're about keeping you hooked on micro doses of validation, so you come back for more, again and again, like a lab rat pressing a button for sugar pellets. This isn't communication. This isn't connection. This is chemical manipulation, and the deeper you fall, the weaker you get. Because dopamine is a cruel master. It gives you a rush, then drops you into emptiness. That emptiness makes you crave the next hit, and so the cycle continues. Scroll, click, reward, crash. You're not choosing anymore. You're being trained, just like addicts who crave their next fix. You find yourself reaching for your phone without thinking. At dinner, in the bathroom, while you're working, even while someone's talking to you. The drug is running you. And here's the most dangerous part. At least an alcoholic knows he's addicted. At least a gambler knows he's gambling. But you? You think you're just passing time. You think it's harmless. You tell yourself, everyone does it. That's what makes it lethal. Because you don't see the chains tightening around your neck. You think you're free, while the algorithm is already inside your brain, pulling the strings. Here's the cruelest illusion of all. Social media promises connection, but it leaves you lonelier than ever. It pretends to bring people together, but behind the screen, behind the likes, behind the endless comments, you're more isolated, more powerless, and more empty than you've ever been. Because what you're getting isn't connection. It's a simulation of it. Think about it. You post a picture. People like it. Hearts, thumbs, emojis. For a moment, you feel seen, validated, connected. But then the high fades. The likes slow down. The notifications stop buzzing. And you're left staring at your screen, wondering why the emptiness is still there. That wasn't connection. That was a hit. Digital junk food for your soul. Real connection comes from presence, from being seen, heard, and known by people who actually care. But social media gives you the shadow instead of the substance. It tricks you into thinking you're surrounded by people when really you're just surrounded by screens. You've got 2,000 friends online, but how many of them would actually answer your call at 2 a.m. if you were in crisis? You've got thousands of followers, but how many of them even know the real you, beyond the filtered highlight reel you present? You're in a crowd every time you open the app, but you're still sitting alone in your room. And here's the dark truth. The more time you spend connecting online, the weaker your real connections become. Why? Because social media makes you dependent on surface-level validation. It rewards performance over authenticity. It teaches you to measure worth by numbers, not depth. So instead of building real bonds with real people, you chase likes from strangers who don't care. You're not connecting, you're competing. And the more you compete, the more isolated you feel. This isn't accidental. The system thrives on your loneliness. The lonelier you are, the more you crave validation. The more validation you crave, the more you post. The more you post, the more you feed the machine. It's a perfect loop, engineered emptiness that keeps you coming back for more. And you wonder why you feel drained after scrolling. Why, even after hours online, you feel more restless and disconnected than before. It's because social media wasn't designed to make you whole. It was designed to keep you hungry. Here's the truth nobody wants to admit. You're not choosing what you see. You're not deciding what you think about. You're not even in control of what you desire. The algorithm is, and if you don't believe it, ask yourself this. Why is it that after 5 minutes of scrolling, you feel anxious, angry, or lustful, emotions you weren't even feeling before? Because the machine doesn't just know what you like, it knows how to play you. Social media is not random. It's not just entertainment. It's the most sophisticated psychological system ever built. Every post you stop on, every video you replay, every comment you read, it's all tracked, measured, and fed back into the machine. The algorithm studies you like a lab rat. It knows what excites you. It knows what enrages you. It knows what keeps you scrolling when you should have stopped an hour ago. And then it weaponizes that knowledge against you. Think about it. Why does your feed always tilt toward outrage, drama, and conflict? Because outrage keeps you hooked longer than peace. Anger glues your eyes to the screen harder than calm. Fear makes you scroll deeper than joy. That's why the content you see is never neutral. It's engineered to provoke you, to rile you up, to keep you locked inside the digital prison. And the craziest part? You think you're in control. You think you're just choosing what to watch. But the truth is, your choices are being guided, one scroll at a time. This isn't entertainment. It's manipulation. You're being programmed. Every time you laugh at a meme, click on a thirst trap, or rage at a headline, the algorithm says, perfect. Give him more of that. Not because it cares what you want, but because your attention is the product. The longer you stay, the more money it makes. And here's the chilling truth. The algorithm knows you better than you know yourself. It knows what triggers you before you're even aware of it. It predicts what you'll click before you consciously decide. It doesn't just respond to your behavior. It shapes it. It feeds you a diet of content designed to nudge your desires, weaken your focus, and addict you to the feed. That's not a tool. That's a leash. This is where it gets brutal, because the cost of social media isn't just wasted time, it's wasted men. We're living through a silent collapse of masculine strength, and most men don't even see it happening. Instead of warriors, we've raised scrollers. Instead of builders, we've raised consumers. Instead of leaders, we've raised followers. Men aren't fighting, striving, or creating anymore. They're numbed, distracted, obedient, and that's exactly how the system wants it. Look around. What do you see? Men hunched over screens, wasting hours in comment wars, obsessing over likes, arguing with strangers. Men who can't sit in silence without refreshing their feed. Men who feel anxious if their post doesn't get enough attention. This isn't strength. This isn't masculinity. This is dependency, and dependency is weakness. Masculine ideals were once built on discipline, self-reliance, courage, and creation. Men used to measure themselves by what they built, what they conquered, what they protected. But now, men measure themselves by how many followers they have, by how many likes they got, by whether their face shows up on somebody's screen. The old ideals are gone, replaced by cheap substitutes. And the result? A generation of men who look strong online, but are hollow in real life. Ask yourself this: how many men today could go a week without their phone? How many could sit in silence, alone with their thoughts, without distraction? How many could endure hardship without instantly running to digital comfort? Not many, because social media has trained them to seek escape instead of endurance, to avoid struggle instead of embracing it, to stay soft instead of forging strength. This collapse isn't accidental. Weak men are easier to control. A man distracted by notifications won't notice his life slipping away. A man glued to his screen won't rise against anything. A man chasing likes won't chase freedom. And so the system wins by turning once strong men into docile scrollers, numb to reality, distracted from their mission, obedient to the feed. The philosopher Oswald Spengler once warned, "When men can no longer build, they chatter." That's what we're seeing today. Men who no longer build, no longer forge, no longer sacrifice. Instead, they chatter. Post, argue, meme, perform. They've traded creation for consumption, action for performance, strength for show. And deep down, every man feels it. That low hum of weakness when he realizes he wasted another night online. That quiet shame when he scrolls instead of working on his goals. That restless frustration when he knows he's not living as he should, but can't pull away from the screen. That's the collapse. Not sudden, not explosive, but slow, quiet, silent. A generation of men dissolving into numbness, one scroll at a time. Here's the truth. You can't fight what you don't see. And now that you've seen the trap, you've got one choice left. Either stay chained to the feed like the rest of the herd, or take the brutal path out. And make no mistake, it will be brutal, because escaping isn't easy. The leash is tight. The addiction is real. The algorithm doesn't want to let you go. But if you can reclaim your attention, your time, your focus, your mind, you can reclaim your life. And that's the only way back to strength. So how do you do it? The first step is simple, but it cuts deep. Admit you're not in control. Most men will lie to themselves. I can stop anytime. I just use it for work. It's not that serious. But deep down, they know the truth. They can't go an hour without checking. They can't resist the itch. They can't live without the feed. That's not control. That's addiction. And until you admit it, you'll never break it. The second step: cut the cord. Delete the apps from your phone. Not hide them in a folder. Not set a timer. Delete them. If you need them for work, lock them behind strict rules. Only on desktop, only at scheduled times, only for creation, never for consumption. Because the truth is this: if it's on your phone, you'll cave. The slot machine will always win. So take away the slot machine. The third step: replace the feed with the forge. If you just cut out social media and leave the void empty, you'll relapse. Addiction hates silence. It thrives on emptiness. So fill that space with building. Go to the gym. Write. Work on your business. Study, create. Do something that leaves you stronger than when you started. Every time you reach for your phone out of habit, redirect that energy into action. This is how you rewire your brain, by trading consumption for creation. The fourth step: reclaim silence. This one is harder than it sounds, because silence is uncomfortable. When you put the phone down, when you sit alone with your thoughts, you feel restless, exposed, uneasy. That's withdrawal. That's the craving screaming at you. But if you can sit with it, if you can breathe through it, if you can hold the silence without running back to the feed, you grow. Because silence is where men remember who they are. It's in silence that you hear your own voice again, not the algorithms. The fifth step: set fire to the fake metrics. Likes, comments, followers, burn them out of your mind. They don't mean anything. They don't measure your worth, your strength, or your masculinity. They're bait. They're chains. They're traps. Measure yourself by what you build, not by what you post. Measure yourself by the weight you lift, the skills you master, the risks you take. That's real validation. That's real strength, and it doesn't come from a feed. Is this easy? Number. You'll slip. You'll relapse. You'll feel the itch clawing at you. But every time you resist, you grow stronger. Every time you choose creation over consumption, silence over scrolling, reality over illusion, you take back a piece of your power. And over time, those pieces add up. Until one day you look back and realize you're no longer the man who was chained. You're free. And here's the brutal truth most men will never face. The system doesn't want you free. It wants you scrolling, consuming, distracted. So if you take this path, you won't just be stronger. You'll be different. You'll stand out. You'll feel the clarity and discipline that most men today will never taste. That's why it's brutal. That's why it's rare. And that's why it's worth it. What happens when you finally reclaim your attention? What happens when you break the leash, silence the notifications, and stop living like a slave to the feed? Something incredible. You unlock a kind of strength most men today will never know. Because while they stay distracted, numb, and dependent, you become untouchable. Picture this. You wake up in the morning, and your first instinct isn't to reach for your phone. It's to move, to create, to build. Your mind is clear, your focus is sharp, and while the rest of the world drowns in digital noise, you're already 2 steps ahead, forging your body, your business, your life. That is power. The man who doesn't need the feed owns himself. And a man who owns himself is the hardest man to control. This is the new strength. Not strength measured by likes, but by discipline. Not influence measured by followers, but by impact. Not validation given by strangers, but confidence forged from within. When you master silence, when you stop feeding on noise, you finally hear your own voice again. And that voice is what guides you forward. Think about it. The men who built empires, who changed history, who stood unshakable. None of them wasted their lives chasing trivial distractions. They lived in silence. They built in silence. They grew powerful not because they shouted the loudest, but because they moved with focus and precision, while others wasted their energy. That's why silence is strength, because silence is control. Control of your time, control of your mind, control of your life. Now compare that to the average man today. Eyes glued to a screen, brain buzzing with pointless noise, mood dictated by likes and comments. He's not in control. He's a puppet, and he doesn't even know it. But you've seen the truth. You know that silence isn't weakness, it's power. Because the man who can sit in silence without craving noise is the man who has mastered himself. And self-mastery is the foundation of all strength. Let me make this clear. When you reclaim your attention, you gain an edge that few men today will ever have. In a world of addicts, you become disciplined. In a world of noise, you become focused. In a world of slaves, you become free. And freedom is power. Like, share, subscribe.